Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. Brown sugar and white sugar. It is quite clear that there is a difference in colour, but how else do they differ and can one be substituted for the other? In this video, I discuss the properties of both to help you determine which one to use in your baking recipes. What inspired me to make this video was that I baked a cake using part white and part brown sugar, and I noticed that it came out fairly differently to the ones I made with all white sugar, so I thought I would look a little bit deeper into this. First, let's begin with how they are processed. White sugar is made from sugarcane or sugar beets, which are agricultural crops. These go through a refining process to remove impurities and molasses, leaving behind pure sucrose crystals. Brown sugar is also from the same source, however, it is either only partially refined or it has molasses added back in. The amount of molasses it contains determines whether it will be light brown sugar or dark brown sugar. Light brown sugar has about 3.5% molasses, whereas dark has around 6.5%. In terms of flavour and texture, white sugar is very neutral with a sweet taste. It has a dry and fine granular texture, almost like dry sand. Brown sugar, on the other hand, has a much more rich and complex flavour. Even if you smell the two, you will notice a difference. White sugar has virtually no scent, whereas brown has notes of caramel and toffee, reminiscent of its flavour. Depending on how much molasses it contains, it may also have a slight bitterness. Brown sugar has a moist and denser texture and often clumps together, a little bit like wet sand. Now let's look a little bit deeper into the chemical properties of these sugars. Both are composed primarily of sucrose, which has the molecular formula C12H22O11, so that's 12 atoms of carbon, 22 atoms of hydrogen and 11 atoms of oxygen. This is a disaccharide of glucose and fructose. As I have already mentioned, white sugar has the molasses removed and so it is highly pure. Brown sugar, which contains molasses, is around 85 to 95% sucrose. The molasses gives additional compounds such as waters, minerals including calcium, magnesium, potassium and iron, and some organic acids. These acids include lactic acid and acetic acid. This gives it a pH of around 5.5 to 6, whereas white sugar has a neutral pH of 7. Let's look at the water content. White sugar has a water content of around 0.1% and is anhydrous, which means it contains no water, pretty much. Brown sugar has around 3.5% water, which gives it a soft, moist texture that is less free-flowing and has a tendency to clump together. Both sugars are hygroscopic, which means that they absorb moisture from the air. Brown sugar is slightly more so, which is part of the reason for its moister texture with that tendency to clump together. White sugar is drier and much more stable in terms of moisture content. Both sugars are also highly soluble in water. Some sources state that brown sugar is slightly slower to dissolve because of the impurities it contains. However, if that is the case, the difference will be very small. And finally, the melting point. White sugar melts at around 186 degrees centigrade or 367 Fahrenheit. Brown sugar is slightly lower at 175 degrees centigrade. However, it does depend on how much molasses is present. So what does all this mean when it comes to baking, and are they interchangeable? For most recipes, yes, one can be substituted for the other without having to adjust the quantity. The main differences will be in the colour and flavour. Brown sugar will impart a richer caramel, toffee, treacly flavour, so if that is not desired, use white sugar. Because brown sugar has a moister texture that is slightly more dense, this may also produce a similar effect in baked goods such as cake. I definitely found that when I made a cake using part white and part brown sugar, I didn't get the same rise as I normally would, and I assume that is because of the nature of the sugar. The pH will also change, however, only by a very small amount, which won't really make a huge difference. Most likely, a product made with brown sugar will be slightly more tender as acidic ingredients interfere with gluten development. If we want to swap out brown sugar for white sugar and still maintain the flavour, we can add in a small amount of molasses. So that is what I can tell you about white and brown sugar. Hopefully the information I have provided will be helpful in your baking recipes. However, if you have any questions, please do pop them in the comments below and I will happily answer them if I can. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you next time. Bye!